I went home when the man who me when he turned 70. I went home a day after his birthday. My mother has never not allowed me entry into my home, and she was like, "Hey Robin, everything all right?" I said, "Well, Mama, I just came for clarity." I said, "Mama, can you get James to come out, because I really want to talk to both of you." So she calls him out. He comes out onto the deck, and about that time my knees start shaking. I looked at him and I said, "You understand where I'm coming from, don't you?" This is before the conversation ever started, and I promise you it was like he had rehearsed. He's like, "Well, Robin, I just wanted to let you know I'm only about two things: forgiveness and forgiving." And I said, "I guess you would be, considering you need forgiveness." He said, "What I done wrong, and that's all there is to it." He said, "Your mama forgave me," and then he named my sisters and said they both forgave him. And when I got there, all I could say was, "I want to know, are you aware, of what you've done to me? All I want to hear you say is what you did." And he said, "I you." And as soon as I opened my mouth to just give him hell, I looked at him and he was like this little thing, and he was so small and frail, and he had snot coming out of his nose. He was calling himself sobbing. He had slumped down into the chair, and I looked at him and I genuinely forgave him. And I said, "I forgive you." I said, "Neither one of us had any time. We have more time behind us than in front of us. So I forgive you." And I said, and you should be able to rest easy. And then I said, "Unless there were others." And he said, no, Robin, it was just you. It was just you." And I felt insulted that it had to be just me, but I didn't dwell on it. I forgave him. I think I was 53 at the time. Here I am now realizing that the entire house knew about it. So when I left home running, it never dawned on me that he would touch his own, because I knew I wasn't his. Do you know what I mean? So I had a whole lot of guilt knowing that I left her there, knowing he was a predator, but it never dawned on me in a million years that he would do that to his own child. So in 2021, on 4th of July, I went home on purpose. And this time I went for the sole purpose of getting my evidence, because I did not want to be called a liar. And I'll never forget it. We all were on the deck. I hadn't heard from my mother in like 7 months, almost a year. She called herself mad because I was writing a book, my autobiography, the one she gave me permission to write. She said, "Robin, if you need to write that book, you write that book." And my oldest sister said, "Robin, that's your story to tell, and if you want to tell it, you should tell it." Everybody was all for me writing a book until they realized that I was really a writer writing a book. It was never a problem until it was public. And I'm sitting there feeling livid at this man telling me what I can and cannot do. I find it hard to believe that this man is a child predator and no one knows about it. I find it hard to believe that he started with us. So I recorded it all. I recorded a long, crazy conversation. We all have a story to share. I wanted to go off into public speaking. And I felt like I needed to be an author to be able to do that, because a lot of times they want to see you on a shelf. And I said, so I'm going to write a story, and I'm going to write my story. It was going to be called All on the Line, and it was my autobiography. And the focus was not on my trauma. And I ended up calling it All on the Line. It got put on the back burner, and it was just something I had on my computer. When I found out that my stepfather lied when he said it was just me, it did something to my spirit. I felt like I didn't know how many other people he had done it to. I was in a very bad mental place, and it was important that I release a lot of what I was holding on to. I'm a writer, so I naturally put it on the page. My goal in writing the book was to A, tell my story, B, show that there is another side. It's really easy to get caught up in a moment, but I promise you, if you wait it out, you will see light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm just now seeing the light. My book is called Secrets on a Hill in Chocowinity, North Carolina. It's available at Barnes & Noble and everywhere that sells books. It is my life story. I decided the best therapy for me was to write it down. I don't believe that people should say just because you have a mother, you should be thankful, because we don't get to pick our mothers, and I adore mine. They say, Robin, you are so strong. And I am so weak. Like, I hold it together well, and I'm strong when I need to be. but a part of anxiety and depression, PTSD, especially the PTSD, because it'll get you. You'll be walking around on top of the world, and you'll walk in a store, and somebody will walk by, and they'll have on a smell or a color. You could be doing anything at any time, and all of a sudden, something reminds you of something on some subconscious level that literally erases all the joy. I want to say like 2002, 2003, back in the North Carolina area. I was here in the city that I live in for a year before I made it home to see my mama. She didn't even recognize me. She walked right past me. She was so embarrassed when her friends saw that she didn't recognize her daughter. And she was embarrassed and I was hurt, but I wasn't surprised. My mother married him so long ago that I don't remember the wedding. And she passed him off as our father. He was a child predator. I have had family members say that he told my grandmother that he fell in love with her children before he fell in love with her. My mother knew he was a child. I don't know who told her. I just remember my mom taking me into my brother's room. She turned around and she slapped me across my face and she said, "That's my man." And that's the day I realized that, the first chance I get, I'm getting out of here, because I kept the secret. I didn't tell. Someone else told her, "I'm gonna be gone. I'm gonna be gone. They're gonna remember me." And I meant it. I don't remember when the touching began, but I remember sitting in his lap and he had on tan shorts, and I remember looking down and his was hanging out of it. I remember us falling on the ground and him being on top of me. This would have been me right before maybe middle school. I remember standing in the mirror in the bathroom with a belt around my neck, tightening it up over and over and over again until I almost passed out, and I thought that was normal. I remember my mother taking my sister and I to a building downtown, and she looked at me and she said, "Robin, when you go in here, these people are going to tell you to write your last name down. And when you write your last name down, you write the word on this piece of paper." I never questioned her about it. That was an adoption. She let the child adopt us, because my older sister, she didn't require a signature because she was old enough. So going off to college, it was my first, taste of freedom. So I went off to college, went buck wild, got put on academic probation, joined the Navy on accident. In the Navy, so a long story to that, but I met my ex-husband, who was abusive. He and I got married. We had a daughter together. We had a son together. I got out of the military early because I was pregnant with Dominique. He was still in the military. I was 9 months and 2 weeks pregnant, overdue with our son. My ex-husband had gotten laid off. He was like an underwater welder. I remember getting off of work. I remember coming home. I remember his brother asking him to take him somewhere. So I told my ex-husband, I said, "Can you take your car? Because I can't drive a stick." And before I knew it, boom, he done burst through the bathroom door. He done pulled me up out the tub, had me about my neck, all up against the shower, and he balls up his fist. His brother's holding him back. Boom. And the next thing I know, I see stars. And I was like broken, like never saw that coming. Police were everywhere, police cars. All I remember is the police officer saying, you don't want to do this. That's the father of your child." No one said, "Look at your face all broken and bloody." He got up the next morning. He went in the bathroom. He went and took a shower. He comes out the bathroom. He's putting on his lotion. And he asked me why I didn't clean up the blood. And I saw red. I'm like, "What? How you going to ask me how I didn't clean up the blood? All this is swollen. I'm duck mouth. All of this is swollen." And I'm like, how dare he? And so my ex-husband and I never lived together after that ever again. So then from that situation, I ended up going back to college. I thought I wanted to be a teacher. A little time goes by. I meet a man. This man and I were together for dang near 8 years, and he ended up being a child. And he was the only person I ever told about being molested. And he turned around and at my daughter. I woke my daughter up one morning. She's 6 at the time. "Are we going to talk about secrets?" Boy, you just don't know how it feels to know what that meant the moment she said it, and what it felt like to know. You don't know what happened to your child, but you know what happened to you, and it all comes flooding back. She said he touched her. He made her get in the tub and he touched her. That's all she had to say to me. And I ended up going livid. I never once asked her to tell me what happened. The only reason why I know what happened is because I took her to the doctor. And they said there was no penetration. It was her word against his, basically. There was no proof. It wasn't going to stand. And he wrote a letter while he was in jail, basically saying that, you know, he was sick. It happened to him too. And all he wants to do is come home and make it right. You know, he just want to come home and get the help that he needs. And I gave the letter to the prosecutor, and they used that letter to convict him. I want to say he got sentenced to 27 years, and he did 13. And he's out now. He's my biggest disappointment. Because you would think if you tell somebody that you were and that person be the only person you told, you wouldn't expect them to turn around and stick it to you and your child. There's nothing he can do to take back what he did. When you do something to a child and when you put your hands on a child, you take something from them. You break something in them. And that child ain't the same as a child that has not been tampered with. I feel like I taught her how to be still. I taught her how to go in her head and process. I think my daughter has turned into a beautiful woman, and she gives me all the credit for it. And she was like, I'm just so proud. I got back in therapy. I approached Dominique about therapy. She wasn't comfortable talking to a stranger, but this year she's gone into therapy. She has an emotional support animal. She says she is clearer now. She says she's not accepting anything that is not supposed to be on her realm, and she means it. So I've been doing a lot of healing, a lot of self-reflection. If I had to give a word of advice to someone who is experiencing trauma, know what you're doing when you do it. There's help out here for you if you look for it. And if you stumbled on this page, you were drawn to it. The one common thread across the board is that we are all still here. Now my life is lighter. It's clearer. It's less raw. I feel like I'm in a good place because where I'm at is exactly what it is. My children are well. My grandchildren are well. I think I'm enjoying the work that I do. I'm enjoying being productive. I'm being helpful, and I'm excited about the future. Coming from knowing.
Robin, I'm only about one thing, and that's forgiving.
You would be because you need forgiveness.
I'm only about forgiving and being forgiven.
Do you?
That's it.
Can I ask you this?
I can't undo what I've done. I can't make history all over again. I've done wrong. I'm sorry, and that's all I can do. If you forgive me, you forgive me. If Krista forgive me, she forgive me. If Wendy forgive me, they forgive me. If both forgive me, they forgive me. I can't undo the past. I have to just let it go. Because if I live in the past, I'll be a dead man tomorrow.
I forgive you.
I'll be a dead man tomorrow.
I forgive you.
You're going to be a dead man tomorrow. Or you're gonna
Do
be
you
a
hear
dead
me?
man today. Yes, I hear you.
But I needed to say that to you because the last forgiveness was based off of missing information.
But like I said, you just have to let it go and ask the Lord to forgive us. I spent a lifetime trying not to repeat my sins. I just can't. I can't keep living in the past. I agree. And it's only destroy me, boom, and everybody. And Chris and all of them, they decided to move on and just let it go because they know that you can't change the past. We all made mistakes. We all done terrible, terrible things. Me, you, all of us done terrible things in our life. I ain't did no terrible things. But thank God you haven't. But it's a lot of us. I'm not the only one that's done terrible. I have done terrible things. And I'm thankful that the Lord forgave me for those things. And I was able to forgive myself and people that I've done the terrible things. I haven't been a saint.
Open your mind, see what's in there, give it fresh air. Open your mind, see what's in there, give it fresh air. Open your mind, see what's in there, give it fresh air. Open your mind, see what's in there, give it fresh air. Open your mind. Soulfully I submit, opening myself wide for scrutiny and growth, seeing possibilities that are normally overlooked, taking the sun with me, radiating, exploding with inner peace, at one with myself, realizing, understanding, and learning lessons promptly, moving on ahead, loving me all the way, sharing and caring and loving freely and honestly. The rivers are subsiding, no longer dividing my soul from my heart. Looking out, I see destruction. I hear warning bells that echo silently, warning a few but not the masses. Justice or lack of justice is commonplace in this place I've been forced to call home and forced to endure like a disease with no cure. How can they make cure when they are not pure but we are? I soulfully surrender to the cause of my people, to do its deeds and fill its needs to plenty. I humbly accept my path to correction, although I possess no sense of direction. I walk blindly, seeing a different perspective. I open my mind to give it fresh air and to see what's in there. Images so vivid control the tone, pounding at my dome, wandering again and again, but in the midst I touch the soul, told it to take control, told it it didn't need to be meek, told it to see its potential from the inside with no hindrance from the outside, and then decide, being selective. Realizing my own mind, I could feel it like the soft touch of my love, extending completely and holding on. I touched the soul this week with words that others would not speak, but I did. I unflinchingly lay my life on the line to protect what's mine all the time, because little things mean so much and go so far to distant stars, stirring laughter and smiles, cementing, bonding, positive energy, potential reality, turning the key, showing the universe that we can detach our minds from ourselves long enough to see the view, off in the distance yet ever so near. Flow freely with your thoughts, catch your thoughts in mid-air, adore each concept, question each point, and realize that it always leads back to what is paramount. Soulfully I submit, opening myself wide for scrutiny and growth.